welcome back to bexbugoutsurvivor, and on this one I'm going to tailor on a Basha pouch onto my MTP short back. We looked at one a little earlier with my long back DPM, but we found a pouch on my long back DPM. We actually found a pouch. I used the resin pouch and actually used an awl to sew this on, and it worked out great. I'm really happy with the modifications of DPM long back, and hopefully I can get a good result as well with the MTP short back. With this one here, I don't have to go out and buy one. We're going to utilise what we already have, and what I'm going to utilise is the top hood here, moving it to here. Okay, I'll tell you up front that I'm not a professional when it comes to tailoring a Bergen. I just have a good basic knowledge of sewing and using a sewing awl and things like that. The first thing is to take it back inside, get out the tools we need to remove this and put it here, and I'm going to think what stitch I'm going to need, because it's going to be visible. If I can get away with a saddle stitch I will, otherwise I'll use my awl. This is my top hood. I'll show you what I currently have in it. Is my MTP Basha, so there's plenty of room for that. There's plenty of room also for a small ground sheet, my pegs and my bungees. The stitching is very fine and there's a lot of it, and I'm going to start removing these bottom stitches here just by picking the first few out. Once I've got a few of these undone and split open, maybe I can get a razor blade to do the rest. You can see it's opened up and I have good access to the rest of the stitching. Stretch it apart, reveal a stitch, cut into it, reveal a stitch, cut into it. And maybe even reuse some of the same stitch holes. And if I do that, I've got a head start here. So I've gone all the way around with the seam ripper on the top hood, and it can be removed. The placement itself of the pouch, I slide forward, ensuring it's under top straps of the lid, like that. And here's the important bit. Notice I've got the zip to one side from this corner here to this corner. Let's see where it stretches to. Hopefully just inside the existing daisy chains, just about. So I'll still have access to the daisy chain. If I got the pouch and stretched it to the edge of the daisy, the pouch would be too thin. It'd be more like a pocket and not a pouch. I've got to have this depth here, which is why it's going absolute flush level with the daisy. Find the midway point, and then I'm going to sew from midway point to the left and then midway point to the right. So I'm going to get some tacking stitches in first. Regarding the zip here, I could have the top of the zip here so it opens by pulling it down and getting my stuff out. I've chose an upside down option, so I zip up to open it and zip down to close it, and that way if the zip breaks for any reason I'm always in a down position. You see, zips can't fall up, but they can fall down. So I made some dotted lines with my Sharpie to follow. They're my stitch lines, and centered this pouch with the center of the actual Bergen, and when these two dots meet I'm centered like that. And your pouch actually sags forward quite a lot. Although my stitching is here, you can see how it sags over my finger, which is how it's meant to be. So I have a wall at least as high as my thumb, you can see there, and that's the depth of the pouch. Okay, I've made a start on it, and at the bottom I've put a row of back stitches. That's the back stitch I'm using, very small stitches right across the bottom, and come up one side on the inside of the daisy chain. And as you can see, it's come underneath and under the strap here. If I grab the top collar and pull it up, the pouch itself comes right to the stitch line of where we toddle up here. In the middle it kind of comes down in a V like this rather than stitch straight across, and that is going to give me this little bit of extra space to stand this pouch upright, otherwise it will be pulled flat, more like a document pouch rather than anything more substantial to put a Basha in. So the distance from stitch line here is going to be a lot greater. I'm just using a needle and thread. The thread I'm using is 1mm 150 denier waxed cotton. The needle is the can needle used for leather craft, so only these elements are required for this one. I didn't need the sewing awl with this one like I did with the long back DPM, so I think next time you see this it'll all have been sewn up, and I'll show you where I placed all the stitching, which is the really important bit. Don't forget, get your stitching really small. Take your time. So the finished project here, and it fits under the lid very nicely. Nice size, good place for it. The top hood strap and buttle would usually just dandle down between these lower pouches, but now I'm going to put the lid buttle through that, and it's just perfect. Bring it all through, so now I have access to it. I'm not trying to find it in a hurry. With these extra tails, I'm going to redo the sniper tape. That's old. This hasn't been done at all. And that just involves winding it up neater than I'm doing and getting your green sniper tape somewhere around there. The zip access is on the side. I thought about having it on the top. The reason I couldn't, it was too long and actually exceeded the height of the lid where it would have to be stitched. So I have access to the zip on the side instead without having to undo the top lid. Inside I can reach in and pull my Basha out. Now whether you fold, roll or loose fill your Basha, I've tried it all ways. It obviously fits in nicely. Reach in again, have all 10 bungees. My ground mat. There is room for my tent stakes. I usually use the IPK, but they're quite heavy, quite big, so I'm in the process of swapping them out for something a lot lighter. And just bring the zip back down. I haven't opened the lid to access my Basha. Tighten it back down. It's working well. So, some little points of interest about the stitching and what to do if you encounter a couple of problems with the pouch being a little too big for where you want to put it. For that, we'll need to pleat it. In this demonstration, the sheet of paper would be the pouch size you want to use, and if it's too wide, rather than having it stretched out tight like that, I want to fold it into that kind of shape and sew it on, which is what we did with the Basha pouch. Is we made it narrower to achieve sitting on the daisy, so I have a good access here. Here's the trouble. This bit here, if I was to sew it flat, it all crumples up and concertinas. So the solution is to pull it down like that into a V and sew it like that. Or solution 2 is to make pleats, which are just areas of fabric like that are sewn inwards, putting a stitch into each of these little pleats. And to give you the side on of the pleat, you can see I have the full width of the pouch. Although originally I demonstrated the pouch coming straight onto the daisy, it's actually within this wall of daisy chain here, so I still have access to these. So that was a change from how I introduced the pack. As you can see, I have access now to the buttons a lot easier. Just need to tidy these up and that's done. So I have the 3 utility pouches here, and in one for the next modification or tailoring exercise. So I'll be making a mesh net, one for each side of the Bergen, and it's not designed to take a large cargo. You just put your rocket pockets back on for that. Things like your mapping, or perhaps a water reservoir, camelback bladder, things like that. Something I think I'm going to make about 1.5 inches, and I haven't sewn through this stuff before. So until next time when we do this, I will see you out there. Happy trails.